What does this bring to mind? Oh, good call. But not what we're here to talk about today. Instead, we're here to talk about Atlantis on the Atari 2600. And another version, but for now, just this. This is a game from my childhood that I played a lot. You protect the underwater city from Atlantis from the Starship Enterprise and some space speedboats using your 3 cannons. It's very simple. It's all about timing. For an Atari 2600 games, the graphics are actually really nice. You can tell what everything's supposed to be. But I'm not sure why the Federation has decided to say, fuck the Prime Directive, let's go blow up some civilizations, but that's neither here nor there. The only objective is to survive as long as you can and get score. The game's only difficulty changes are really from how fast the enemy ships are going. And when you lose, it's due to your own terrible incompetence, as you're seeing right now. I played this game a lot when I was younger because it was very simple and easy to play. You can also lose pretty fast, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Also, you tend to get blown up a lot faster when the middle cannon is gone. At least that's my experience. The middle cannon is kind of broken. I also like the fast little ships that will blow up everything on screen like that kind of a bomb. But there's really not a whole lot to say about this particular version. You've pretty much seen what it has to offer. It don't last too much longer, because I develop a pretty sudden and stunning amount of incompetence. But for a game that's as old as this is, I think this is from 1981, maybe? It holds up pretty well if you're looking for something just quick. Coincidentally, every 10,000 points, if you're missing a cannon, it comes back. I think if you have all your cannons, you might get a building back, but I'm not good enough to know. But, that aside, as much as I do like this game, there is one particular problem. You might be able to figure out what I'm talking about, and if not, don't mind the escaping ship, that's for a sequel that we'll get into later. If not, here's a picture. A very badly drawn picture. You only have 3 interactivity lines coming out of your cannons. That kind of sucks. But recently I learned about the Intellivision version of the game. There are some major differences here that you might notice. One being, you can have 2 people play simultaneously. I have no idea how that works. Difficulty levels are mainly the speed of the ship. But you have a crosshair, and you fire around like, kind of like Missile Command, except with enemy ships. And no longer are we attacking the Starship Enterprise. I guess Picard took over for Kirk in the between phases. The number in the bottom middle is something we'll get into later. Now, for me at least, the addition of Missile Command style aiming, while making the game a bit more difficult, honestly, although part of that is due to my complete and utter incompetence with figuring out which cannon to shoot at which time, it makes the game a bit more of a thinking game. You might also notice you get points much less quickly. Also, TIE fighters. Another change, as seen here, there's a day-to-night cycle. It doesn't really matter until you get to nighttime, and at that point the game gets very, very difficult. But it's also pretty awesome. Even though it's hard, I really like what it does. And you should be seeing that very soon, because each phase has 3 waves. So after this guy dies, and this guy, I guess, bam, nighttime. The number in the middle, that lets you do this. Yep, the escaping starship can come out to fight on its own terms until you run out of fuel. If you run out of fuel, it blows up. If you touch an enemy ship, you lose some fuel. If you land, you start regaining fuel again. If you lose your ship, you get another one at the dawn of the next day. But this is honestly the only way I can do it all well in these sections with the spotlights. It's a cool effect, but goddamn does it make playing the game hard when you can't see what you're trying to shoot at. I would call that poor design, but in all honesty, without that, there isn't a whole lot of challenge in the game, aside from fumbling with the controls like some kind of an idiot. You actually have a lot more targets to blow up for you to lose in this one than you do in the other one. And the game keeps track of your days. Instead of just solely going for score, your objective is to survive as long as you can. And ships change every now and again. And they have different patterns. Like, these are basically white versions of the black ship from the first time, so they wave around like these goofy jellyfish things. And there are some ships that are actually really freaky to look at. Also, you might have noticed that you can both kill ships with a direct hit from your death beam cannons, or if they touch the little explosions that sit in the air for a little bit, that'll make them blow up too. I tend to have better luck leaving explosions in the ship's paths than I do with hitting them directly. Or occasionally I'll just do that and fire at exactly the wrong spot so that all my shots miss. I never claimed to be good at video games or anything, and really, even though I said it made it way too easy, I kinda missed the middle cannon. Although the UFO is... The UFO is a pretty worthy, game-breakingly good addition in comparison. I really wish I knew why the Empire wanted to blow up Atlantis. Probably for the same reason the Enterprise did. They must be on oil reserves or something. And by oil, I mean, whatever they used in Star Trek and the Force. Because the Force is a mineable resource. I understand how these things work, people. I totally understand. But here I am, kind of fumbling blindly around trying to shoot these ships with my cannons and not doing that great of a job. That is why I tend to use the shuttle for these parts. Firing randomly will do you pretty well, as long as you make sure to fire the right way. The reason I'm firing so awkwardly is due to the setup of buttons on the Intellivision controller. In that there is a button on the left, there's buttons on the left and buttons on the right, so a lot of times I'm firing from the wrong side because I'm hitting the wrong set of buttons. It would be easier if I was using an actual Intellivision controller, I assume, aside from the fact that I've heard that the Intellivision controller buttons were kind of a pain to use. But, c'est la vie. I like the torpedo ships. I like the torpedo ships a lot, which is pretty good, because there's a decent number of recolors of these guys. I can't say I care much for the freaky X-Wing, blinking X-Wing guys here, though. Those do not curry my favor in any way, shape, or form. They blow up nice, though. And I guess you can't go wrong with the old TIE fighters. Also, it's kind of funny to note that I've been playing this version of the game a lot longer than I lasted in the 2600 version, but I have way less score. I also kind of like how your score disappears from sight when you're in night, just like everything else. Even with the ship, which has a better firing kind of range for you in this phase, there's still a lot of guesswork involved unless you luck out and the spotlights actually decide to cooperate with you. Although one of the better uses for the UFO that I just lost is to just line it up with the line that enemy ships come in to blow things up and just fire that way. As you'll see a few times, I think at least once has already occurred. If you blow up a ship when it's on its attack run before it hits the center of the target it's trying to hit, you will save the target. Good old classic hitbox exploits. Everybody loves them. Man, those ships freak me out. They look like a flying eyeball just blinking at me unnervingly with their pupil. And that's not the way things should blink. Oh. Way to save the people, the slum of Atlantis there, me. You are good at this game. Here's yellow versions of the missile ships. I prefer the blue better. I also don't really get why dusk is gray, but I'm going to chalk that one up to limited color availability, as that is often a fairly common factor in very old video games. Probably lucky it has color at all, honestly. That's a lie, the Intellivision dealt exclusively in color. Unless you had a black and white TV, in which case it didn't matter. I remember my old black and white TV. That thing was terrible. I honestly, despite all my complaints about this being ridiculously difficult, the night phases, this is my favorite part. They did such a good job of making it atmospheric with the spotlights and the kind of blind hopelessness you get trying to fire and not being sure where your enemies are. You can put you in a really good panic if you're easily panicked. Especially if you have no idea what you're doing in terms of shooting. As we go further and further into the depths of this game, one has to ask, will he make it for a full week? Will Atlantis have survived? I'm not going to tell you the answer. I already know because I filmed this in advance. But I'm going to leave that up for you to decide. If you get it right at the end, you get no prize whatsoever, because I don't have any. And here I decided to play around with the ship a little early in the day, just to see how that goes. Due to me being completely incompetent, it goes great, as you can see. This should really be a simple exercise of line up and shoot, but I have made that difficult somehow. And as such, have wisely decided to let it refuel, because I'm just wasting it. And it takes a while to refuel. God, I am such a bad shot. I have no idea how I survived as long as I did with this kind of shooting. I like the invading sombreros here. They are a great enemy addition. And right there is an example of saving a target from destruction at the last possible second. What they're trying to hit right now is the shield over that set of two, I think it's actually 4 city targets. And the shield won't blow up until their laser passes over the exact middle of that bubble. So you've got pretty good leeway there. I also like how you can occasionally blow up more than one ship at a time with a well-placed shot. That'll teach those dirty sombreros to blow up our city. Our underwater city that we can't live in because none of us breathe water. And yes, I realize this is dying for a Futurama joke of some sort about Atlanta, but I'm not going there. I'll leave that to you, the viewer. Make your own bad joke. Day 6. Atlantis will live forever. Also note that it's getting much faster. And I have become incredibly competent all of a sudden and let almost half of the stuff that I had left get destroyed immediately. I think the aliens are mad at me for defending for so long. Well, in all honesty, I do have kind of a hard time predicting the path of these wavy dudes. It's just rough. I don't know why. Yeah, it is 4 city targets down there. I have no idea what that weird thing that just blew up was supposed to be, but I feel bad that it blew up. I think it was the giant graviton ride of Atlantis, and now it's gone. It's okay, though, because it was underwater. I don't think that graviton does so well underwater. But now I'm getting people killed by letting their horrible slum cities get blown up. I should probably stop that. If you have easy access to an Intellivision, I would actually recommend giving this version of the game a try, especially if you're only familiar with the Atari 2600 version like I was. It's got a very different feel to it, and I actually personally like it a lot better. If you don't, it is unfortunately not in any of the collection packs I've seen around. I don't know why. But if you can, I would say give it a shot. And we're down to one building on the 7th day. It's gonna be tight that week, isn't it? I don't think I even got half the score I had in the Atari 2600 version. But you know what? Surviving for 7 days would be better than any amount of arbitrary points, which don't really mean anything. Well, at 10 points per ship, it's more than 10 points per ship, what am I saying? Looks like it goes up by... It looks like it's 10 times the number of days survived, actually. That's pretty cool. I didn't notice that when I was originally playing. Also, these things here, these things terrify me. I don't know why, but they are scary. They're like flying dragons or something, and the flying dragons that crap out laser beams to destroy cities terrify me in a deep, deep subconscious of my core. And that will be the end of the world. I'm calling it right now. Look at those things, man. The way they just twitch their way through the air. God, that's creepy. And here we are, the final phase of the final day of the week. Can Atlantis hold out? Can the last few survivors huddled up in their little hellhole of rubble down there make it? Will they do it? Will the good guys win in the end? I think the answer to that should be fairly obvious by this point. No. And the ship flies away for a sequel we may look at another day. Later, guys.